I have a place in my heart for all of those people in the Bible that don't get a lot of play, or maybe get the wrong play. Maybe some of you know I have a special place in my heart for Judas. And today I want to talk about somebody who just goes overlooked entirely, Joseph. Think about what you know about Joseph. Carpenter. Had something to do with Mary. And then after about chapter 5 in Matthew, he's gone. I mean, he's not even at the crucifixion, right? We hear about Mary and all the other women. Where's Joseph in all of this, right? Such a bit player. Man, he's got... So I'm going to talk about Joseph today. We're going to get into Joseph because I think there's something to learn and see about him and the way he walks with his son and with his God. We know, and maybe you don't know, so I'm just going to go over this a little bit. We know that he's looking at Mary and she's pregnant. And this is a bad situation because he knows that this is not his kid. And the situation is such that what he should have done was kick her in the middle of the town when everybody was hanging out, tell everybody that she's pregnant so that they could straight up stone her to death, and then he would be vindicated and released from that bond, and he can go about his life. That's what he should have done. That's probably what his family wanted him to do. If nothing else, we know that he comes from this lineage of David. That's a big and important and a special family name, although many years removed. And for certain, he was the man, and he was supposed to have a family and a household that was upright and above reproach. And so taking a harlot and a hussy like Mary would have been a bad deal. Joseph is a good guy. So what he's going to do instead of kick her in the middle of the town where everybody can stone her to death, he's just going to dismiss her quietly because he's a good guy. She can go and raise her child all by herself, and he's going to go his way. This is what he should have done. Everybody wanted him to do this, and instead he gets a dream. When's the last time you did anything a dream told you to do? Right? He gets a dream, and he decides, hey, I'm going to stick with this chick. I think she's for me. And then I'm going to drag her across all of Galilee, all the way down to Bethlehem, so we can pay our taxes. That sounds like a good plan. So this is what they do. I mean, we know this story. This is nothing new. He goes and he does this. What you don't know, or what you maybe can't see or haven't put two and two together yet, is what he's decided to do is totally overthrow the system. The system is set up, right? This is how you treat women who act. This is how you treat women. Just put them down here for starters. And then if they, happen to be pregnant or whatever, you don't like them, then you can kill them. Just straight up, stone them to death. That's all right. That's because they, are worthy of being human beings. They're women. He's going to overthrow this entire system. And then he's going to go even further into the temple. Okay, so he's a carpenter. He's not some king, but he comes from this lineage of kings, which is why he's going back to Bethlehem, where King David was from. And he's going to enter into this system that is centuries old, millennia old. This temple system, which has been set up such that the hierarchy, the male priests, are running everything. And he's supposed to go with this vision he had from a dream and upend this entire thing. His son's going to come in and totally demolish the entire world as he understands it because of a dream. So he has to go in and he has to change everything. I was trying, I like to translate the things that happen in the Bible and what they might be in our world today. I can't even come to what that would look like in our world today. What system would just be completely upended? It would be as if our prison system didn't exist, and instead, when somebody committed a crime, then they would be expected to come to your house and sleep in your bed with you. That would be the magnitude of the reality that Jesus brings into the world. That the evil, that the bad, the negative in the world is somehow handled completely different. This is the task that was put in front of Joseph. And this is the task that his son would accomplish. And so this is the task that he has to walk with. And we don't think about that because usually we hear about Mary. But all the stuff that Jesus was doing all of his life long would have had nothing to do with Mary. When Jesus went to the temple, when he worshiped God at the temple, Mary wouldn't have gone into the place with Jesus. She was a woman. She can't go in there. It would have been his dad. And so when Jesus is saying all the things that he's saying, and when he challenges all the people that he challenges, it would have been his dad's shoulders that fell upon. Not Mary. Nobody would have even talked to Mary. Who cares? She's a woman. Okay, you realize those are not my opinion. God is asking Joseph to stay with this woman and to have faith and disregard the infidelity that may or may not have been there, to believe that really it is this Holy Spirit moving in his life, to change this whole system because of a dream. Think about where Jesus is in your life. Not like, where's Waldo? Okay. Oh, yeah, Jesus is in Tampa. No, I don't know. Where is he, like, on all the facets of your life? You've got your faith life, you've got your work life, you've got your family life, you've got, your life in your hobbies or whatever you're doing, you've got your friends, you've got all these things you're doing, and Jesus should be showing up in all of those places. If you think of all of these different aspects that make up you, where is Jesus in your life? And could you imagine if he called you to upend whatever that system was? Think about just your work life. In America, this is one I encounter a lot in your work life. You probably can't be overtly Christian. What if every day at noon, while everybody's going to lunch or getting lunch orders or whatever it is, you said, okay, everybody come to me. My pastor's going to be here in about 10 minutes and we're going to have communion. Nobody leaves until we worship Jesus. How's that going to fly? Okay, but this is exactly what God might be calling you to do. When we think about God entering into the world and we listen to Joseph and what he was supposed to do, we never actually think it's us. We never think it's us that God is calling. Oh, yeah, God's in the world. Joseph knew this. Oh, yeah, God's in the world. He read the stories. He knew the prophets. He opened the Bible regularly. He was a religious man. He understood that God was coming back into the world. Oh, yeah, we heard that. Pastor lit 4 blue candles and said some prayer, and I don't know what he said, but it was pretty words. And what does that mean? Well, that means that God is coming into our world. Oh, yeah, I know that. But what if he was coming into your world through you now? We don't think about that. This is what Joseph had to deal with. This is the reality. Yeah, God's coming in the world. No, I am coming. I'm here. I'm already waiting. Where are you, Joseph? Let's do this already. I'm going to go in to the temple system and upend it. You see, as I see it, people are sinning. They've got this disease, and then they come to the temple after they have the disease, and then they get a cure, right, through this sacrificial system, and they go back out in the world, and they continue to sin, and it's not good. It's not the way. It's a whole pound of cure. I want an ounce of prevention. I'm going to come into the world. I'm going to send my Holy Spirit. I'm going to grab people by their souls, and I'm going to guide them, and I'm going to forgive them regularly and infinitely, so that that curse that is upon them, that disease of sin doesn't just rot their souls, but they might know that I am there. And Joseph, I'm calling you to do this. Are you with me? No, I'm not. We don't know. Maybe there could have been somebody before Joseph that said that. Some guy, Raymond, that everybody loves, and he's hanging out with this girl, Deborah, and, she's really nice, but all of a sudden she got pregnant, and he doesn't want to have anything to do with her anymore. And he had a dream. He doesn't care about that dream either. And so all of a sudden God wasn't able to come and work in the world. So he did it again about 100 years later to this guy, Joseph. And Joseph decided yes. But he could have said no. And maybe it would have been another 100 years before some other person decided that they would follow Jesus, that they would actually believe in God, that they would do everything that God said. Think about coming into your workplace and believing that God is there and you're going to do like crazy stuff, like you're going to do some faith healing. Like you go to the water cooler and you get your hands wet and you come up to the first person and grab them by the head. Okay, crazy stuff that you just would never do. This is what Joseph was asked to do, to follow Jesus, but he'd never met Jesus. There was no Jesus when he was asked to follow Jesus. He literally wasn't born yet. We talk about Mary and the crazy, almost unworldly faith that she had to have. And nobody talks about Joseph. I think there's something there for us. That you and I take for granted that there is a Jesus, that there is this church that we come to, where God has called us, united us, guides us through our baptism, so that we could not have this temple system, but rather we might have God in our life every day. That we might have this opportunity to be God's people. But what we never seem to talk about is maybe it is this moment. That God is calling you to do something. Is God calling you to do something? Maybe it is for this moment that God put you here right now so that you could hear His call, so that you might rise to whatever occasion that is, so that you might be His very hands and feet, that you might bring anew, that you might be someone that He needs, that He calls. And for what it's worth, that calling might entail service. It's going to put you out. Because if God is first, then everything else has to come second, and that means that you're going to be put out. It may entail suffering. It may be that you're going to have to go through some dark valleys, and the shadow of death might loom. It may be that you're going to have to be a visionary and a prophet because you see something that nobody else sees, but you know that God is calling you to that, whatever that is, and you're willing to rise to the occasion. Not because you're able, because you're willing. God will make you able. But are you willing? I know it's Christmas and you're all looking for a nice fluffy Christmas. I'll see you Saturday. This is not a fluffy Christmas story. This is Advent. God doesn't live in fluffy clouds. He lives in the muck. He lives in the mud. He lives in the real life. And He calls us not to fluffy places, to real life. And I don't care how small of a bit player you think you are in God's grand scheme. There are no bit players in God's grand scheme. And so before we get lost in the hurricane that is Christmas, take a second and look for Christ in your life. Because He sees you. Is He calling you?